Now, in one of your books, you say that 50% of antibiotics that are made end up dumped into pet food. Is that correct?
Exactly. And also, your listeners might be interested to know that back in the late I think it was 1999, in the States, and 80% of the pet food sold in Canada comes from the U.S., but at that time, veterinarians were complaining to the Food and Drug Administration, the Center for Veterinary Medicine, that the drug that's used to euthanize companion animals was not having an effect on dogs like it should. It was taking more of the drug to euthanize dogs. So they decided to do a study. They studied, I believe, about 78 dry dog foods and found the levels of pentobarbital in over half of the foods. Now, this is a drug, and it does withstand the rendering process, so it is going into the pet food. Now, it is a drug that is not supposed to be in the pet foods, and the Food and Drug Administration acknowledges that it should not be in the pet foods, but they are taking no steps to eliminate it.
And you also say that you say drugs, metals, pesticides, and pathogens in your book. Can you just speak a little bit about what other drugs or how do these pesticides end up in this food?
Well, you have to remember that a lot of these animals have been treated with drugs prior to their demise. Most of these drugs withstand the rendering process, so they in turn are being right through into the pet foods. Having a pet food tested is very costly, and I know in the pet food I had tested, I had it tested for heavy metals. And, I mean, the levels, it showed even arsenic. Now, not in great amounts, but arsenic in the food. A dog requires about 300 milligrams of zinc in their food. The one I had fed contained 1,150. You don't know. I mean, and there's no government agency that's going to test the foods.
Now, in the U.S., after the recall, the FDA stepped in. Do they play any role in trying to regulate this at all?
No. Well, they only stepped in because of such a massive recall and the fact that Menu Foods actually did report that they were going to recall all these products to the FDA. That is the only reason. The FDA, the Center for Veterinary Medicine, oversees any pet foods that contain drugs. These would be prescription diets, perhaps a vet sold. They don't oversee the pet food itself, but the drugs that are going into the pet food. So in this case, with the Menu case, it was naturally suspected it had to be a drug of some kind that was in the food, a toxin of some kind. I think Menu Foods is going to be in a lot of trouble financially with this because of even the lawsuits now that are coming out, the class actions and the individual lawsuits. There's quite a few of those now.
Well, there's a blog called Pet Connections located in New York, and they have a database that's like 1,700 animals. I don't know what's what's that.
And this is it. I'm sure we're going to see well over 1,000 documented cases of this because with the number of foods recalled, and you know about the testing that Menu themselves did in their in-house facilities where they fed it to between 40 and 50 dogs and cats, and the figures vary between 7 and 10 of them died.
Yeah, and they waited 2 weeks even after those tests to do the recall. I mean,
yes,
it's very disturbing.
And this is it. This is very upsetting to a lot of owners. This food was out in December. So when you're given that time frame, there's got to be a lot. But naturally, Menu is going to ask to see the container. Naturally, it came in so they could test it. How many pet owners would save a can or a bag? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's how they cover themselves, it looks like, huh?
Yes. By the sounds of what's coming out now, this is what's going to happen.
And for people that are maybe unaware of the recall, What should they look for in their animals just in case there's a problem?
Usually they start vomiting, they're drinking excess amounts of water or no water at all. They're very lethargic. Anyone that has fed one of these recalled foods, and it's on, all the foods are listed on the menu website, if their pets display any symptoms at all, get them to a vet.
Thank you for joining me and all the work that you've done.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.